ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय कोटिसूर्यसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्थप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ येनाक्षरसमाम्नायम् अधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। So we have seen the introduction to the language so far without entering into the Paninian grammar. So today, the idea is I will start with introducing to that aspect as well. Okay, so I owe this to my teacher, Swami Brahma Prakashananda. I should remember her when I start this class, that whatever Sanskrit I have learned, she has really polished it all very well. What I knew was in bits and pieces, but she put it all together wonderfully. She's a wonderful teacher. So what is grammar first? Before we enter Paninian grammar, what is grammar itself? The grammar, when it comes to a language like Sanskrit or any natural language, the grammar doesn't come first. The language comes first. And from the language, somebody has to look at the language, examine, and come up with the rules, which happens over time. So grammar is always like an afterthought. So it is not easy to build a grammar. So the grammar really is a reverse engineering work. Unlike a computer language like C or Java, where the language comes first, the grammar is already decided, and then you fit in phrases which will work there. You cannot write anything you want in a computer language, right? But language is already there. And now someone has to understand and see, is there a way to codify the language to understand it? And this many people have done. Even in Sanskritam, many have done. Hanumanji is supposed to have been a person who was an expert at 9 schools of grammar, not one. Navavyakarana. So one of the schools which is surviving till today is the Paninian Grammar. So what is the brilliance of Panini? To be able to know the entire language. When I say entire language, understand he has the knowledge of all the words in the language, in Veda and outside the Veda. And then he comes up with just 4,000 short rules by which he describes all the words possible in the language. You will see there are certain things which he cannot do. He will just say bahulam, etc. But still, it's a momentous task to be able to capture all possible words and exceptions. So understand, Paninian grammar is a Shabda Shastram. It is not going to sentences really. It is dealing with words, the formation of words. That's where it stops. And before you enter this Shabda Shastra, what should you know? You should know the alphabet well. And at alphabet, how to pronounce it is Shiksha. How to pronounce is a science. So that is called Shiksha. So in Taittiriya, you'll hear Shiksham Vyaakhyasyamaha Varnaswaraha Matrabalam Samasantanam. This is just a very brief way of addressing what is Shiksha. Shiksha there is Chandasam. It is really Shiksha. Shiksha means the phonetics, how to pronounce. Sanskrit is a clean phonetic language. So what we write is what we pronounce, and what we pronounce is what we write in general, barring a very small number of exceptions, which we will look at. So the pronunciation is extremely important in Sanskrit. And the alphabet is really based on how sounds have to be uttered. Right? So even though Panini is addressing Shabda Shastram, he also wrote his own Shiksha Sutra to say how you should pronounce them, how the letters should be pronounced. And then, in order to write this grammar, in which language we write the grammar? The language for writing the grammar is also Sanskritam. Therefore, unless you have a minimum of Sanskritam, you cannot enter Panini. So we have done some work, but we don't need all of it right now, because first we will begin with letters. So how do things get managed? So the method, I'll just give you a brief understanding of the method itself, right? So if you're familiar with computer programming, you'll appreciate a lot of this more, because his methods are what we use today in so many ways. So one basic thing he does is he names things. You have to name anything to operate on it. So you name a group of things, you make a group and name them. And now you can do what we call as a group or a set-based operation. So you don't deal with one thing at a time. You make a set of things and you say, for this set, this is the rule. You make a rule, then you make an exception to a rule. Then you make an exception to an exception to a rule. Sometimes you make an exception to an exception to an exception to a rule. So it's a nesting. Very beautifully done. So you make, basically it's like saying, suppose I said, give everybody in this classroom a pen. That's the general rule now. And I say, give a pencil to Ramesh. Right? Give a pencil to Ramesh and Ganeshan, let us say. Right? Now what happens? There are two exceptions. Ramesh and Ganeshan will get pencils. Everybody will get what? A pen. Right? And then I can say, give a red pen to Ganeshan. So that means he's getting something different. So I'm saying I can work at any level. Right? Now, instead of doing it, I can say, all right, all students who have been here for the last 21 classes, old students, let's name them. Right? And now, students who are coming now, new students, give all students, old students, a pen. Okay? Give new students a pencil. Now I made a group level rule, and I can make exception at a group level. I can cut across groups too. Right? So the method is very, very intuitive. It's not difficult. And when I say a rule like this, give everyone a pen. Pencil to Ramesh. You see what I did? I did not say give a pencil to Ramesh. I said what? Pencil to Ramesh. Do you understand or not? I said give all students a pen. Pencil to Ramesh. What do you understand? You understand exactly what I have in mind, which is Ramesh is also a student, but he will get a pencil. And in the process, what have I done? I have reduced the length of the statements needed, because I'm not saying give a second time. This is how sutras work. Okay. So I said, give a pencil to Ramesh and Ganesh. Pencil to Ramesh and Ganesh. Now I'll say red to Ganesh. What did I do? I dropped the word pencil also. I made it red. So you can see now each time I'm only adding a word incrementally. But in the context, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know the context, you're in trouble. Like this, Panini will use the word pratyaya once and tell us that its writ runs for 3 chapters, hundreds of sutras. You don't have to think again. In that 3 chapters, when you're looking, you know the word pratyaya is there as a a content running through it. So this is called you decide what's a topic to be dealt with. This is not only in grammar. Even in Vedanta, when we have the Brahma Sutra, Brahma Sutra is a sutra. What is sutra, by the way? I'm using the word sutra. Sutra basically means that which indicates. Suchayati iti sutram. That which indicates. Means it is not going to be elaborate. It's not an essay. It only indicates. Therefore, the characteristic of a sutra is it must be brief. It must be very brief, succinct. Alpaksharam. We say alpaksharam. Alpa means small. Akshara is consonants. Not consonants, syllables. Minimum number of syllables. Alpaksharam. But just because I use minimum letters, if I don't convey what I want to convey, it's not useful. Therefore, it should be brief, but it should convey the meaning unambiguously. Asandigdham. Alpaksharam. Asandigdham. No doubt, no ambiguity. Saravat. It should have rasa in it. Sara, not useless words. Alpaksharam, asandigdham, saravat, vishvato mukham. Vishva means world, all. It turns in all directions. Means what? If a word can have multiple meanings, each of those meanings would have a significance there. Typically done with compounds. So in Brahma Sutra, we have a word, Shastra Yoni. Shastra Yoni. Shastra means the scriptures. Yoni means what? The origin. Okay. Now I can resolve the compound, samasa, Shastra Yoni, in 2 ways. I can say Shastrasya Yonihi, Shastra Yonihi. Shastrasya Yonihi means what? It is the cause or the mother of the Shastras. Shastra Yonihi. Or Shastraha Yonihi Yasya Saha. Bahurihi, which means that for which the Shastra is the cause. The meaning is completely changed. Both meanings are possible for the compound. And when Vyasacharya uses that in a sutra, it should satisfy both meanings. Because otherwise what will happen? One fellow will interpret one way, another will interpret another way, they'll have a fight. No, both meanings have to fit. And therefore, Shankara will comment on that sutra in Brahma Sutra 2 times. Shastrayo Nitvat, 1 time. Then Shastrayo Nitvat, 2nd time. We chant it 2 times. Because they have different meanings. This is called Vishvato Mukham. It turns, means any which way it can be interpreted. Because it has to be unambiguous. If there are multiple interpretations possible, it must not leave you wanting. It should address all facets. So Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, Saravat, Vishvato Mukham, Astobham. Astobham, Anavadyancha. Sutram, Sutra Vido Viduhu. Astobham means what? See, Stobha is, if you heard this Samaveda sometimes. Ha, u, ha, u, ha, ha, u, ha. They will keep doing this. These are, Veda requires it, but they have no meaning. They have no different meaning. It's not a word. It's part of the way it's chanted. These are called Stobha. No such singing around, okay? Astobham. Anavadyam. should be flawless. You cannot find a mistake in it. That is called a sutra. And our culture was a culture of knowledge, but knowledge passed down orally from generation to generation to generation. How do you pass down knowledge from generation to generation orally? It has to be reproducible. And prose is very hard to keep in your head. Poetic is better, Chandasam. Therefore, whole Veda has got a meter, metric in nature. If not meter, it has got swaras. So it's amazing how we're able to remember the whole Rudram, and you can chant it happily, and 100 people can chant together, and it'll still be fine. Why? Because everybody has been trained in that way if they are trained well. But all that we write is not metric, is not something which lends itself to poetry. So the method is you build up a pyramid of literature. Okay? And the top of the pyramid is a sutra. It's very succinct, very brief. To support the sutra, you have an explanation. One or more explanations. It's called a vritti. Sutra vritti. Then you may require a further explanation of that vritti, longer vritti. Then you may have a detailed commentary on it. This is how the literature is built up. So a person studies the whole pyramid, but keeps it all in his head through the levels of the pyramid. So what do you keep in your head? Athato Brahma Jigyasa. You keep one in your head. Then Swamiji will talk about it for 3 months. Brahma Sutra. That's how it works. Because that one little sentence helps you to connect to a huge stream below. This is called the Sampradaya. Because unless the person who wrote the sutra explains it, there is a possibility of it getting messed up. So the person who wrote the sutra has to tell what he means. Then that is carried down. So if Panini wrote the sutras, if it has come to us till today, it is because there is Sampradaya. There is a tradition who received it and passed it from generation to generation to generation. So Panini has written about 4,000 sutras. And it is organized in 8 chapters with 4 quarters each. And therefore, 8 is what in Sanskritam? Ashta. Chapter is what? Adhyaya. Therefore, this work consisting of 8 chapters is called Ashtadhyayi. It's called Ashtadhyayi. That which has 8 chapters. And in these 8 chapters, I told you roughly around 4,000 sutras. And the sutras are all interconnected. You have to know, really, if you want to study it well, you have to remember the sutras. You have to know the sequence. You have to know where which comes. Because I told you, I will tell what? Give everybody a pen. Then I will say, pencil to 2 people. Then I will say red 2. Only seeing red 2, you cannot make any sense out of it. You better know the whole story. You have to know the sequence. So this is the methodology of studying Ashtadhyayi. One methodology. But then people found it at some point very hard to keep up with this. So what did they start doing? Somebody explains it, bringing all the connections from everywhere and explains it and makes one big explanation. They start to memorize the explanations. The memorization of the whole explanation, which means they really now don't have to remember sutras. Because they remember explanations. But what do they do? They carry a lot more of baggage than is necessary as Panini envisaged it. So this Ashtadhyayi has got these commentaries. And the sutras are organized for brevity. They are not organized in a way where you can study topic by topic. It cannot be studied like that. It's not like, first alphabet, then sandhi, then you can't study Ashtadhyayi like that. Any sutra can be sitting anywhere because it is organized in a very, very methodical way. But yet I'm saying it does not lend itself to a sequential study by somebody who doesn't know. And to teach, you cannot teach in that sequence easily. You have to teach it in a different sequence of teaching. That sequence of the way of teaching is called prakriya. Vedanta also uses the word prakriya, but here the meaning is slightly different. Prakriya here is the method of teaching the sutras in a way that it can be understood. Organizing it in a method which is topic-based. So this topic-based organization has been an effort for a long time. Then at some point, Bhattoji Dikshita wrote what is called a Siddhanta Kaumudi, where he managed to organize the entire 4,000 sutras, not dropping one, and made a Prakriya Grantha. And that Siddhanta Kaumudi became a super hit. Obviously, Bhattoji Dikshita knows Ashtadhyayi like the back of his palm, okay? He has no trouble with it. Therefore, he could collect everything and put them together. But others can't do it, they just latch on to him. So, people say, okay, memorize Siddhanta Kaumudi. Ratlo. Typical Rishikesh language, okay? Ratlo. You study it, you memorize it. So, it's not just that. Siddhanta Kaumudi has got 4,000 sutras. People found it too hard. So somebody came up and wrote a midway. Madhya Siddhanta Kaumudi. Half number, roughly. Then somebody else came later and said, this is too much. In this modern age, every time you have modern age, there's too much to handle. So they wrote what? Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. And that has about 1,200 plus sutras. And today, what is predominantly studied in our country is Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. And from what I know, if you go to, say, a place like Kailash Ashram, until you get this straightened out, you stay, your living quarters also in a lower floor, You live in the basement and learn. You have to learn grammar first. Then only you have access to other things. And you have to memorize the whole Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. That's the method they do. If you don't memorize, you have no access to the class. They'll check you out. And what was taught yesterday, you have to regurgitate today. Otherwise, today you are not in the class. This is where tradition used to be, okay? You had to maintain your learning standards to a very high level. We are all too fortunate or unfortunate, depends on how you look at it, okay? Because probably if we were in the grind, we would have learned that way very well. But since we can afford to be loose, we are very loose. But the tradition is this. And then somebody came and wrote Sara Siddhanta Kaumudi, which hasn't somehow become popular, okay? But Laghu is the most common one. It's called Laghu for brief. Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi is called Laghu. So what does it do? It takes a subset of sutras and connects and explains them in a way. All right. This is just to, we're not going to do all this, okay? This is just giving you a general understanding of what this Paniniya Vyakarana is. You will not appreciate it till you start seeing it in use, okay? Until that, you'll have to take my words that must be something interesting, but there is much more to it. So this, before you even, so I told you one thing is he names things, right? Second thing I told you is you carry the words down in context. That carrying the words down is called anuvritti. Anu, after. It comes down. And if it's a whole topic coming down, it is called an adhikara. If you don't remember all these words, don't worry. Not significant right now. Okay? It's called adhikara. then you need a method to say, how are you going to say the rules in the language to keep it brief? Therefore, you remember we have done all this vibhaktis, karakas, vibhaktis, cases. So you have to know the cases well. The cases will be used to grammatical words which otherwise have no meaning for you. But each case will imply some action to be done by you. So the cases are overloaded. The information in the case will be used to determine what kind of an operation must be done. See, typically, we have, just to give an example, okay? The very first sutra of Panini is a name sutra. It says Vriddhiradaich. It says Vriddhiradaich. If you are able to split it, you have no splitting. Vriddhi at aich. That's how it will come. Vriddhi is what case and number, you should be able to tell me. This much you have to know. This much Sanskritam you should know, okay? To study sutra. 1, 1. Okay? At, like Marut, 1, 1. Aich, 1, 1. Okay, you got this much? 3 words with 1, 1. Now, when there are all these with 1, 1, it means it is defining something. It's naming something. Vriddhi is being named as At and Aich. What is At and Aich? We will see later. That's the job. That's all that one sutra does. First sutra. Vriddhi is At and Aich. Over. What is the use of this? You better know where that word Vriddhi is used. Because he will not say At Aich 100 times. He will use the word Vriddhi. So like this, he will use the name and he will name it and he will use it. So the first case, one method is naming. If all words are in first case, sutra will be a naming sutra. Sangya sutra it is called. A typical operation of the grammar is, say if you're doing a sandhi, what do you do? For example, you're saying Hima plus Alaya. What will it become? Many of you know. Even in regional languages, you have this, right? What will it become? Himalaya. Hima, Alaya, Himalaya. A plus A is replaced by what? One A. Are you with me? Short A, one A plus A. It doesn't become 3 A's, okay? When you combine them, it becomes just one A. Double. E plus E becomes what? E. A plus E will become what? A. A plus O will become what? O. These are rules. We'll see them later. But now, what do you have? You have when this and this combine, one or both of them will be replaced by something else. You need a rule for that. So what is to be replaced? He will put in 6th case in a sutra. With what is to be replaced? He will put in 1st case. What should precede? He'll put in 5th case. What should succeed? He'll put in 7th case. This is how he works. So you have to know your Shabdarupas very well. Therefore, what is the prerequisite for this? Marut Shabda, you memorize. What's amazing, in the entire 4,000 sutras, there is no Tinganta, 0. You don't need one Lakara. You need what? Subanta. And that too predominantly Halanta Subanta you will need. But you need Marut Shabda, you better have it in your head. Marut Marutau Marutaha, Marutam Marutau Marutaha, Maruta Marudhyam Marudbihi, Marute Marudhyam Marudbhya. 2 a.m. You know my 2 a.m. question, right? If I ask you at 2 a.m., you should open the door and give me the answer. That's the question, okay? If I say Marutaha, it should come to you like this. 5th case, 6th case, 1st case, everything you should tell. Immediately you should tell. That's why the exercise which asks you what case and number they are. You have to know. But once you know these little things, life becomes so easy, because the rules are so tiny and you can keep them here. Don't have to waste, gigabytes of space in your head. You just need megabytes. Works very well. So So he has to overload the cases. So we have to know how the cases are used. So how the words in the sutras should be making sense. There's a set of sutras which will help you make sense of all sutras. They are like the framework sutras, I can call them, okay? And they are called paribhasha. Paribhasha sutras. Not very easy. Complex ones can be very complicated also. But they are the backbone of, if you want to study Ashtadhyayi direct, that's the backbone. And that's how my teacher taught. We didn't study Kaumudi, etc. much. We went with Ashtadhyayi. So it's fun. So you don't have to memorize huge books. You memorize little book. See this book. Can see this book? This book has it all. It's very tiny. Once you understand it, it's all you need. You look at it, you understand a lot of things. It's fun. How far we'll go with it, I don't know, but I will make you enjoy it to some extent for sure. That's a promise. Okay. If you hang on, you will enjoy it. So this is how. So he has Paribhasha Sutras, he has Sangya Sutras, he has Adhikara Sutras. They're all different types of sutras. And all these are woven together very beautifully in order to know how to derive a particular word. So, we have done bhavati, bhavatah, bhavanti. To derive the word bhavati, you will need about 30 sutras or 40 sutras. If you go to ashtadhyayi.com and click on bhavati, you will see one window open up. It will show you so many sutras on the right side. So we are not going all the way, but we will go some way. So essentially, to get one word, you need 40 sutras. Imagine how much struggle you have to put in the beginning. It is hard in the beginning because you need a lot of things to fall in place to make sense. You have to get the whole infrastructure in place. Once the infrastructure in place, then you build on top of it. That's easier. So this is how the sutras are organized. And for every sutra, I said there is something called a vritti, which means what is the simple meaning of the sutra, including the defining infrastructure rules, including the words that came down anuvritti, the topic adhikara. All these have to be considered, and you understand the sutra in your head. That understanding line is called a vritti. Okay. So since this sutras are about words, and words are made up of what? Letters. Before we get into any words, we have to understand letters much better than we have understood so far. So where do you think we will go first? We will go with A, A, E. That's where we have to go back now. Because until you get the letters straightened out, you are not going to straighten out, you're not going to understand grammar well. Every letter has got a story to tell, and you have to understand what's its story. Where does it fit in the overall scheme of things? Phonetically. Okay. So that's where we have to begin. And then there is a method of, see, how do you normally say your alphabet? If I ask you to chant, one of you please say the alphabet. What will you say? A, A, E, E, U, U. That's where you will go, right? After you finish vowels, where we go? Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga, cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. Wonderful. But you know what? When Panini has to make a set of rules for the grammar, I told you he needs to group things so he can make rules for groups of letters, not just words. Groups of letters can be combined and you make a rule for the groups of letters. How to group the letters? How many groups do you need? Only Bhagavan knows, honestly. So the legend is, Maheshwara, Shiva, had his damaru. You know what a damaru? It's a drum, a small drum, which has this thread with something which will hit the drum in the ends. So he just shakes it like this. Gada gada, gada gada, he does. And it makes some sound. He shook it 14 times. All right. And the sounds that came out, Panini heard things. And he made his basic thing called, it's not a Panini Sutra, it's called Maheshwara Sutra. Came from Maheshwara, from Shiva. It can't come from anywhere else. Because somehow Ishvara seemed to know exactly which letters should be grouped how, and he gave the whole clue into Panini in his head. How he gave it, don't ask, okay? That is why he's Panini. But the amazing thing is, with these Maheshwara Sutras, Panini could group the letters in and name the groups in a very simple, uniform way. And those names are used extensively in the grammar of Panini. Okay. So what we need to do is understand Maheshwara Sutra and how to form these names for groups of letters, which are called pratyahara. Each group of letters is called a pratyahara. Once we understand that and some understanding of letters, we need to understand more about the letters. Which part of your tongue produces it? Which fixed part of the mouth is used to produce the sound? What is the effort involved in producing the sound? What is the internal effort in the mouth? What is the external effort in terms of breath, etc.? So all these have to be understood about the letters. That's why I said we need to understand the letters with a lot more detail now. And then we are ready to enter into letters getting mixed up with each other, what to do with them, how to handle them, etc. And we'll see the rules as we go. And within that, we can have a section called Tinganta, how to handle Tinganta, how to handle Subanta, how to make, Kridanta, how to handle Samasas, how to handle Tadhitas. So there are rules, but there are rules which can be shared across these. There is no, see, if you're building a large complex, do you need different bricks for different pieces? No. Same bricks you use for everything. But still, the architect may have some special features in some place. In the bathroom, you don't use brick, you use your tiles. Right? And one bathroom will have one kind of design, another will have a different one. That's okay. But that you start with tile and you change the design slightly. And somewhere you instead of using a regular window, you put glass bricks. Instead of regular bricks, you put glass bricks. You can change that. So changes are all possible. But building blocks, bricks are same, cement is same, wood is same. How it's shaped, different. So like this, there is a basic building blocks which are shared across these different things we have to do. Whether it's Tadhita, whether it's Samasa, whether it's, Tinganta. Common operations are there, which the sutras will be common. And there are special operations, which will be special. Like, the word Patni, wife. For that one word, Panini has got one sutra. Because he had to. It's unique in its own way. So he made one sutra for this. So like this, where it's needed, it will be one word, one sutra, for one sutra. And elsewhere, one sutra will cover a universe. Bricks. So there are lot of details involved, right? But what's the way what I'm planning to do for you is we will go with things which are low-hanging fruit. That's how we will begin. Which means you get a fruit, you taste it, you enjoy it, you get charged, then you go further. We don't try to build up the whole thing at one shot. We will make it grow in bits and pieces. So you can't derive the whole word, doesn't matter. But what will help, you get. So right now, you struggle. Bhu becomes Bhavanti. Pat becomes Patati. Why not Bhu becomes Bhuti? You don't know. I tell you, you look it up in Shabdaroop Manjari, Dhaturoop Manjari. Now what? When we have finished with these things a few weeks from now, you will be able to say why it becomes Bhavati. Which means you can put Shabda Manjari aside, Dhatu Manjari aside, and know how Bhu will become Bhava. You will be able to do that. That is fun. To me, that is fun because you reduce your dependence on things you don't need to depend upon. So for that, there'll be some general rules. Like this, we will first start with most general things, which will have an implication, whether it's any dhatu operations have certain common rules, whether it's kridanta or tinganta, you know. So we will use those, do that kind of rules first. Then we will enter into more specific things as we need. My intention is to give you enough which will make our life easy and not too much that will drown us. Because we are not here to become grammarians. This I'm very clear about, okay? I don't like to be a grammarian. I want Sanskrit for the sake of study of Shastra. That's my purpose. If it's one more straw extra, I will not take it. Don't need it, don't take it. Okay, so that's going to be our driving philosophy. So we are not going to do everything, but we'll do what will give us a lot of goodies to make our life easy. Okay. So with that background, let me start with some idea of letters. Okay. Okay. Where is it? Okay. So by the way, let me say something more to you before I go here. I will say a few things to you. Give me a second, okay? Share my screen. Okay. All right. So if you recall, this is our root folder. Are you able to see this? I hope you are. So the folder which I share with you on Google Drive, this is what you will see when you go. A README, a catalog, and a folder called Sanskrit classes. Yeah. In this Sanskrit classes, and if you are not become member of the group, please do. If you don't become member of the group, you may not know where to go. All right. So once you go there, you go in here, you will find this docs where I normally put all your documents, audios, references, and exercises. Now, what I have done here is under references, I have put two more documents. Okay. One is called Ashtadhyayi, one is called Dhatu Kosha. These are two new editions. Okay. And these are, things which Medha Michika, one of our brahmacharinis in our Gurukulam, had edited. They are well done. So I have decided to put them here. Okay. Now, this Ashtadhyayi, I told you, is the 8 chapters of Panini, which you don't need immediately, but helpful at some point for us. We will need to use it. Okay. And Dhatu Kosha, this is not very relevant to us right now, but it's relevant for you to know. So I want to show this to you also before I move further. So this is a listing of all dhatus by alphabetical order. Okay. Alphabetical order. And if you go further down, you will find that it has dhatu with upasarga. Okay. See, it starts here now. Dhatu with upasarga. All right. As is dhatu with ati upasarga, adhi upasarga, apa upasarga, ni upasarga, like this. And for each, it gives you possible meanings. They're not exhaustive, but it's pretty good. So, because I found some of you have done the exercise pretty well, but you have a problem because you don't know how to understand with upasarga. You don't have a resource for it. So I thought I have not informed you of this resource. That's what I'm doing right now. So if you go, for example, okay, say for example, pad now. Dhatu is pad. We had a word upapadyate. Okay. Now you look for upa here. You find this? Upa plus pad means what? To be possible, tenable, suitable, adequate. These are the meanings you immediately will get. Upapad. Nishpadyate, you will get this word. Prapadyate, you will get this word. Pratipadyate. So you can see all vipad, vyutpatti, the derivation of a word. Vyapad, sampad. So what are the meanings possible? You will get them very quickly. Not exhaustive, but still a very good resource. Okay. So that's something, because I saw a few exercises, people, about 5-6 people submitted, and you have done a good job, but I can understand your difficulty because upasarga meaning is not easy to get anywhere. It's a harder part. So you can use this resource. It will help you a lot. So you can and it's in English. So it's not hard for anybody. Very useful. Not exhaustive, but very useful. Okay. So what I was telling you is this. So the dhatu patha is there and ashtadhyaya I have put there. All right. So when we need, we'll refer to them. That's the place we will go to. I will tell you why we need the book, because we can do a lot of things online with ashtadhyaya.com. But we will still need that physical thing for certain reasons. And this ashtadhyaya.com, if you want, you can order it from our bookstore and get a physical copy, because it may be easier for you to use it. Every time looking at a PDF may not be fun. So you can get a hard copy from the Gurukulam. And even in the US, you can get it from the Arshavidya Gurukulam at Salisbury. Very likely they will have it. Okay. So that's about the immediately. You don't need worry about books. Okay. I'm just mentioning it to you upfront, so you know where you can find the resources. All right. So now with that said, let me go back to the alphabet. Okay. So we'll start. First thing is what? Swara, vowels. Right. So we'll begin with what you know. What are the vowels? A, I, U, U, R, R, L, A, I, O, Au. The length of time you take to pronounce a, if it is 1 unit, you should take 2 units for a. This is the norm. Okay. In general, we should not say a and a in the same length of time. That is not correct. So if I say Rama, Rama, that a should show. Okay. Similarly, E. This R, R. This is how you pronounce it. There's a vowel here. R. Similarly, L. This is not La. Okay. It is L. But for all practical purpose, if you don't remember this also, it won't make a difference. There is one dhatu clip that has this. Otherwise, you won't find it almost. So you can ignore that vowel for all practical purposes. Okay. A, I, O, Au. So these vowels on the right and these remaining. So A, E, U, R, L, A, I, O, Au are all 2 lengths. You take double the time as you pronounce a. And this is called dirgha. Dirgha means long. Hrasva means short. We will repeat these words later. Hrasva, dirgha. Otherwise, what will people say? Long a, short a. We have to get rid of that. We have to start saying what? Hrasva, dirgha. Then, these are called swara. What does swara mean? That which can be pronounced independently. That's how you understand it. Swayam rajate iti swaraha. Rajate means it shines on its own. It does not require any other support of anything else. All consonants require the support of a vowel. Okay. So you cannot say ka unless you either add a vowel before or after. Are you with me? You have to either say ka, ka, ki, ku, etc. Or you have to say what? Ak, ik, uk. You have to add a vowel on one side or another. Without a vowel, you cannot pronounce a consonant. Therefore, a consonant is what? Dependent entity. What is a vowel? Independent entity. Therefore, it is called swara. It's not a arbitrary name. Swayam rajate. It shines on its own. It stands on its own. Therefore, it is called a swara. Is this clear? So, without a hesitation, we will be able to see that whatever can be pronounced is only vowels by themselves, independently. All right. So if I say Rama, what does it end in? You should think. You should not say ends in ma. It ends in a vowel. If it ends in ma, what should I say? Ram. Hindi people have to be extra cautious because our tendency is Ram is the only word we know. We don't know Rama. We only know Ram. But in Sanskritam, you have to make a distinction between Ram and Rama. South India, we have another problem. This is one problem, no? So, what do I mean by that problem? See, apparently, Jambavan was having a meeting with all the Vanaras when they had to cross the ocean. So he was asking, who can go up to Lanka? They got news. Sita would have been taken to Lanka. So Puji Swamiji used to say, that when they're discussing, Jambavan says to Hanuman, hey, you can do it. Why don't you think about it? And every Vanara is coming and claiming, I can do this much, I can do that much. Jump. One jump. They need to jump 100 yojanas. So Jambavan apparently says, my problem is, if I jump, I will go 125, not 100. Therefore, I'll end up in the ocean. He's got a bigger jump. Same way, our South Indians, we won't just say Rama. We'll say Rama. That's also a problem. That is wrong. We have to make it one length. Rama. Should not be Rama. Should not be Ram. Should be Rama. Tamilian, what will they do? They have the tendency, Raman. That N will get added. AN. That also won't work. Sanskrit is very precise. You have to know how to pronounce. It's important we keep that. And especially if you're going to chant some Vedic chant, even more important. Everything should be exactly as it should be. Okay? So vowel is what? That which can be chanted independently. Swayam rajate iti swaraha. All right? More we have to see about it. So we have seen what? It can have one length of pronunciation or two lengths. There's a third one. I'll mention it right away. A third one, which is called pluta. It's got three lengths. You can ignore it for all practical reasons for now. The only word where you should know it from our perspective, this is Sanskritam for Vedanta, right? So what should you know? Om. When you say that O is three lengths, that's one thing you have to know. Otherwise, forget about it, pretty much. In chanting, you'll need sometimes, Ahaman adu, Ahaman adu, Ahaman adah. There you'll get a three lengths. So in Mantra Pushpam, you will see a 3 number they'll put. You will know what it means. That means three lengths. Okay? This much for now with Swara. Now, let's go back to the screen. There's a reason why I have kept these in separate lines. Because each has a different place of pronunciation. A and A come from the gutter, the kantha, throat. E and E come from the palate. U and U will come from the lips. So each one of them has some difference. That's why I kept them like this. We will look into those later. Just a mention for now. Then comes the consonants. Consonants are called what? Vyanjanani. This has some problem with the size. If I make it small, it'll look correct. But unfortunately, if I make it big, it eats up matra in the font. I don't know why. So now, these are what now? Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. Right? So these you keep in mind. They are called varga. Or in English, I will say, call them a class. Okay? Class of consonants. Or class consonants, let's call it that. That's the name for this set. Okay? They're called class consonants. Varga. One varga is one line. Ka, kha, ga, gha, nga is one varga, one class. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya is second class. Ta, tha, da, dha, na is third class. Ta, tha, da, na, da, dha, na is fourth class. Pa, pha, ba, bha, ma is fifth class. Prathama varga, dvitiya varga, tritiya varga, chaturtha varga, panchama varga. Does that make some sense? Because they all happen to get chanted from one location in our throat, the whole class. We will, as I said, we will look at that effort, etc. a little later. Right now, understand what? As we know the alphabet, they are divided into 5 classes. They're called vargaksharas or class consonants. Okay. Then you have ya, ra, la, va. What are they called? They may be called antastha. These I have not heard. I saw it in the dictionary, I just put them here, but not common names. Ardhaswaraha, Ardhavyajanaha, not common names. But what happens is this. They have characteristics of both. And note that all these consonants I have added a as a vowel to make them pronounceable. Okay. Otherwise, consonant will just be k without a vowel. All right. So ya, ra, la, va. What you can know at this point is these are chanted, vowels are chanted with your mouth open. You chant vowels with your mouth open. Consonants in general are chanted with your lips. You know, your mouth has to, this has some touch. It's called sparsha. Sparsha means touch. There's sprishta. Sprishta means they are touching. Sprishta is what? Sprish plus kta. If you remember what we studied in class, you can use it here. Sprishta means touched, touching. So, like say if you say ka, you will find if you say ka, don't say the vowel. Just say ka and don't say the vowel. Where will your mouth be? It will be stuck with ka. Your tongue will be stuck with your throat. You notice that? This is much better done if you had a live class. Okay, Zoom, it's impossible to have this fun. But you have to just say it, but not say it. So, tongue, part of the tongue and throat is stuck. Suppose you say pa, you want to try to say, don't say pa. Say pa without the vowel. What will happen? Your lips will be locked, right? That's called sparsha, touching. There is a touch involved. Okay. So in vowels, open, generally wide open. See, wide open. E, o. My mouth shape is changing, but the mouth is not, two things are not touching each other. It's open all the way. But when it comes to a consonant, try ka. Try without touching. You can't. Now, say pa or say ka. And now trying saying ya. Do you see a difference? Ya, ra, la. Is it touching like ka? Is it open like e? It's not. Where is it then? It's in between. That is why antastha. Antaha is in the middle. In the middle. Antastha. Therefore, these 4. In English, what do they call? Semi-vowels. Why? Because they have vowel-like feature. See, ya, ra, la, va. All of them. They are not like the spashta, sprishta. But they are not vivrita, open. Where are they? They are, you can call it half open or you can call it half closed. It's up to you. Therefore, he called it ardhaswara or ardhavyanjana. You see the name, that's why he's given that name. Or we will use the word ishat sprishta. Ishat means little. Avyaya. Ishat is an avyaya, which means little. Don't confuse Ishvara, okay? Ishat sprishta. Sprishta means touching. Vivrita means open. Ishat vivrita. Ishat sprishta. All these names you will see later in the next week, okay? Don't worry too much. This is all setting you up so that you get used to hearing these words. So that is why these are called antastha, because they are between vowels and consonants. Okay. Now you come to the next. What is that? Sha, sha, sa, ha. What's special about this? So these are called ushma varna or ushman. See, suppose something is hot. Suppose something is hot. What sound do you produce? That's heat, you have to show the heat. What will you say? That heat will come, that ha. That why it's called ushman, ushma varna. But in English, they will call it sibilant. There's a hissing sound, a slight hissing sound. Ha, sha, sha, sa. In all, there's an extra air. It's all mahaprana. See, when you say ka, you push a little air out. When you say ka, you push more out. So first one is called alpa prana. Ka, alpa prana. Kha, mahaprana. Ga, alpa prana. Gha, mahaprana. Nga, alpa prana. Alpa means little. Prana here is air. How much life energy do you give to pronounce it? So these ha, sha, see this sha, sha, sa, ha is a hard one to learn properly. People don't know how to pronounce sha from sha. Different, what different, you don't know. So if I say, Shankara, or I say Purusha, is there a difference? You should be able to spot it. If I say it right, you should spot it and you should be able to write it correctly. Habitually, I have learned it wrong long ago, but with understanding, you try to correct it. And you say Shankara, Purusha, Visha, Vishama. That's a rolling. There's an extra rolling in the tongue to get that sha. Your tongue has to roll in. Sha, like ta, 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 na. Same way, sha. Tongue should go in the same way, flick up. That's the Purusha. Whereas Shankara is, tongue doesn't roll. Okay? So there's a difference between the two. And we have to know it. One is said to be cerebral in English. In English, we call it, in Sanskrit, we say murdhanya. In English, we say it is cerebral. Other one is called palatal in English. We call it talavya. Okay? You will see all these, exactly what the locations are we going to discuss. I'm not going to leave it at this level. This is just a initial foray into the subject matter. Okay? So this much is your alphabet. Is there anything more that you know? No. Now let's look at a few more things to be understood, okay? These are some additional characters. Visarga. What's a visarga? So a visarga really is a character which gets born in between in certain situations, okay? It's not a regular character, but it's a character nevertheless. An important one. And typically you will see it as this two dots, okay? Like Ramaha, Balaha, Harihi, Nadihi, Guruhu, Vadhuhu, Harehe, Taihi. I have taken for each vowel, okay? So each of these, the two dots is a visarga. And is the two dots pronounced same way? Ramaha, Balaha, nadihi, guruhu, vadhuhu, harehe, taihi, vishnoho, gauhu. Do you observe anything? Are they all pronounced the same way just because visarga? Or does sound change depending on precedes? The vowel which precedes the visarga will decide how that visarga is pronounced. So you cannot say gauhau, Ramaha, right? Harihi. So gauhau. No, it doesn't work that way. You know. So Swami used to always quote on Telugu saying, so if it is Kudurai ki kurram, then Aane ki arram. It doesn't work that way. He would say in Telugu and say that. Because the whole idea, you don't just make it rhyme. There is a way it works. So Puja Swami used to make grammar very interesting when he dealt with it. It was fun to listen to him. So the point is, these visargas have to be pronounced appropriately. So you find that typically it's the shortened vowel. Ramaha, Ramaha. Ha is short. Harihi, Nadihi, not Nadihi. Guruhu, Vadhuhu. That U is the same, short. Ha sounds come in between. The visarga is the ha sound basically, and the vowel which precedes determines the kind of vowel that succeeds the ha sound. Aihi, Auhu. Difference. Ramaihi, not Ramaihai. Ramaihi. Gauhu. But Harehe. Haryoho. Yeah. So the sound should be pronounced properly. All right. This is called visarga. And the visarga is born typically either because of the final ra or a sa. It becomes a visarga. How, etc., we will see at some point when we look at visarga sandhi. Okay. Now, this visarga is fine, but we have something else called ardha visarga. Okay. What is ardha visarga? There are two under that. One is called upadhmaniya, one is called jihvamuliya. So you understand the difference now. See, normally, how do you pronounce this? Ramaha karoti. Ramaha karoti. But that is not correct. If you pronounce it, you have an option. But typically, especially when it comes to Vedas, you will, in Samhita Patha, you will not find an option. It will become Ramah karoti. Ramah karoti. That sound is ak, ak. That comes from the bottom of your throat. Ak. So Ramah karoti. So in your Avniyatam, this thread change time, you chant a mantra. Kamah karoti naham karomi kamah karta. That's what should be done. Kamah karta naham karta, kamah karaita naham karaita. I am overdoing it, okay? Simply to make the emphasis. But it will be what? Kamah karoti naham karomi kamah karta naham karta, kamah karaita naham karaita, eshate kama kamaya swaha. That's how it will go. That sound should come. That ak should come. And that sound comes from the base of your tongue, going against your throat slightly. And therefore, jihva means tongue. Mula means the root, the base. Jihva mula means the base of the tongue. And that sound which is produced by using that part of your tongue is called jihva muliya. Pretty straightforward. It's all meaningful words. Jihva muliya. Dma in Sanskrit is a root, which means to blow. Dma. Okay? If you remember Bhagavad Gita, Shankhan dadmuf prithak prithak. That dadmuh is coming from dma. Okay? Dma is to blow. Upadhma is to blow. Upasarga. Now, when you have this visarga, which is followed by ka or kha, you get the jihva muliya sound. Ka or kha. When you have pa or p following the visarga, the sound is a upadhmaniya. And what is that sound? It is a typical English F letter sound. Okay? Ramaf pachati. Ramaf pachati. Vrikshaf phalati. It's an F sound. Don't see, some people who don't know will say pa fa. Fa is Urdu, not Sanskritam, okay? You want Sanskritam, you should say pa tha. Typical North Indian pronunciation for fruit is phal, not phal. Phal maybe modern days has happened, some extent, corruption has happened. But it is phal. Phal hai? Phal khayenge? That's how they will say. So that pa when it comes, pa or pa when it follows, visarga is followed by them, then you don't pronounce the visarga as that ha sound. You make it a F sound. That is called upadhmaniya. Jihvamuliya and upadhmaniya both are together given a name ardha visarga. Ardha visarga. So I'll tell you how it comes, okay? How do they show it? You draw, I didn't keep my tablet handy today. I should have done it. You draw a circle, okay? And drop off, lop the circle half. Make two semicircles. How will it look? Two semicircles. It will look like this. Like two C's, okay? One C like this, one C like this. That's a sign you will find in books sometimes for the Ardha Visarga. It's half. Instead of showing a bindu, you can't make half. You show a circle and make it half. They will use that symbol to show it's Ardha Visarga. Half cut. Instead of a dot, you make it a circle first. Now you cut it in half, you'll get a semicircle. Remove the line on top. You will get Ardha Visarga. Are you with me? Okay. So that is Ramah karoti, Ramah khanati. These are Jihvamuliya. And Ramah pachati, Vrikshaf phalati is called Upadhmaniya. Then we have something called Anunasika. What is Anunasika? A letter uttered through the nose and mouth, both. Should be uttered from both nose and mouth. If it's only nose, it is called Anuswara. If it is nose and mouth, it is called Anunasika. What are Anunasikas? All your fifth of a class. Now you remember what is class? What is class consonant? Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. One class. Cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. You tell me, what is first of the class? In the first class, ka. Second of the class, kha. Someone tell me what is fifth of the class? What is fifth of the class?
No.
Na. Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. Right? It's called fifth of the class. So fifth of the class are what? Are all Anunasikas. Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. Cha, cha, ja, jha, nya. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. If you have a bad, cold, then a lot of Anunasikas will come. That's not what we're talking. That comes in Kerala more a little, tends to come that way. But what I'm saying is, here, what's important is, if you want to see these nasals are always a challenge for people to pronounce. They don't know what is the difference between nga and nya and na. They don't know. It all sounds similar to some people. How should you learn it? You fix the place for that class. Like you learn to say ka, everybody can say. Say ka. Don't say the vowel. Okay? And add a little nose to it. It's very easy. Say ja. Ja, cha, ja. Fix the location of tongue. And now add a little of nose. Nya, nya. Like bunch, crunch. That's nya in English. Then you get what? Ta. Ta, ta, da, da, na. Say ta and add a little of nose. You'll get what? You can't avoid it. If your tongue goes up and you add a nose, you will get na. This is the rule. This is why it is very precise. I can teach you how to pronounce it. It's a science. It's not just, some funny sound. It's all very precise. Which part of the tongue should touch where is defined. We will look into it. Whole tongue can't touch everything, right? See, if you say cha, one part of tongue is used. If you say na, a different part of tongue is used. If you say ra, a different part of tongue is used. If you say pa, tongue is not used. Lips are used. These are all phonetics. Right? So these fifth of the class are all what? Anunasika. Mukha, nasika, vachanam, anunasikam. Mukha is involved, mouth, and nasika. Nasika is nose. You should know these two words now. Mukha means mouth, nasika means nose. Both together, anunasika. Okay? So, not only the fifth of the class, you also have vowels, nasalized vowels. And sometimes nasalized semi-vowels. In the Vedic chanting, you will see this sometimes. So he's giving some example. Samvatsaraha, Sallinaha, Sanyanta. These are all what? This Chandrabindu is standing here for what? Anunasika. Okay. We don't have to worry too much about this. We normally won't see it. But you know what? When we look a little further in Panini, you will find there are a lot of things which will have what is called Anunasika. The first Atmanepada dhatu in the dhatu patha of Panini is edha. Edha vriddhau. Edha vriddhau. That edha is Anunasika. But we have lost that for a long time. So now it is said that you know it is Anunasika because tradition tells you so. Nobody pronounces it. It's become like that. But Panini used these as markers. If he pronounces something with nasalization, the effect is different. If he doesn't nasalize, the effect is different. And therefore, he used nasalized vowels as markers. We will see what are markers a little while later. But it's amazing. So, Anunasika, we will say Upadeshe ach Anunasika it. We will see it later. But what it's telling you is a nasalized vowel is very different from a non-nasalized vowel as far as Panini Sutra is concerned. Okay? So, nasalization is an important thing to understand. It's just you have a mouth plus you nasalize it. All right. Then, so I'll put this in your shared drive. Okay. As I said, vowels which are uttered nasalized by Panini's works like Sutra Patha, Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha are silent ones. They are not actually found in use. They are put by him only for sake of a complete utterance. Their nasalized nature being made out only by means of traditional convention. And the statement is Pratigya Anunasikyaha Paniniya. There's a statement like this, which tells you that though it's not heard when you hear in the Karana Parampara, you know it is Anunasika in Dhatu Patha, etc. Then comes one more thing called Anuswara. Anuswara is really a nasalization only. Mouth is not involved in that. You just have to add a little nose to something. This is very hard to even distinguish, okay, sometimes. So suppose I write a word. What is the word for lion in Sanskritam? Do you know?
Simha.
Simha. Good. Now, what is Simha? How do you write Simha? See? How do you write Simha?
Chandrabindu on the top.
You don't write Chandrabindu.
No. Simha.
Yeah. One dot. How do you pronounce a dot is the question now. It is not Makara, really. Strictly, it's not Ma. Okay? Yeah. If it was Ma, he could have replaced it with Ma. He can't. It has to be Anuswara. How do you pronounce this Anuswara? So you have some good Maharashtrians here, they will tell you Simha. They won't say, they will not say Simha. They will have one special way. Simha. Simha. Correct? Marathis are here, no? No Marathis here? Shailaja, Marathi or no? Konkani also similar.
I'm not Marathi, Swamiji, Kannada.
Okay. Now what I'm just saying, you will say like that. Simha. And they're very clear. Rama. They will not say Rama. They're very precise about it. Rama. Simha. So that don't worry too much about it, except to understand there's a nasalization involved. Okay. So, and these, the Anunasika, the Jihvamuliya, the Upadmaniya, the Visarga, all these fellows have one thing in common. They are not independent. They are always going along with something else. And these kind of characters are called Ayogavaha. They're called Ayogavaha. They are always in combination with another phonetic element. Okay. So this Ayogavahas are also considered part of the letters. That's why I mentioned it to you here. Okay. They are not excluded. And then we have one thing which we call an avagraha. The symbol is like this. You've seen it probably. I give an example here. Shivoham. You write like this. In a book, you'll find Shivoham. How is it? What's the actual thing? Shivo aham. Now, what happens when the two join? This A gets dropped. When you Shivo and Aham join, A gets dropped. How do you indicate the A is dropped? They put this symbol, this S-like symbol, which is called an avagraha. Okay. And some books will say if you drop more vowels, you put as many S symbols as the number of vowels dropped. All don't follow it, some follow it. But this symbol is not a necessity. It is not a necessity. It's a publisher's symbol. It is not part of the alphabet. Please understand. Because it's written, you may think it's part of the alphabet. Therefore, I'm pointing out it is not another letter. What is it? It is a symbol used by modern day publishers to show us that a vowel has been dropped. Okay. So, because see, the point is this. There are situations where the meaning will be completely different if you had and don't have it. Say, for example, we have this sutra in the Dharma Shastras. We have a sutra in Dharma Shastras. So what will happen? You write. First sutra. Athatho dharma jigyasa. Athatho dharma jigyasa. Now, if you write it, if the words are, so the words could be, let me take up that text. Give me a second. I'll share a file and then I will show you what I mean. Okay. So now let us say here I write Atha, Ato, Dharma Jigyasa. This is one sentence, okay? Now, I could also write, okay, let me take it to the next page. So both will be together. You know what this means? It means now there is an inquiry into dharma. And you know what this means? There is an inquiry into adharma. Now, when the Sandhi rules are happening, you know what happens? This goes. What you will get is exactly this. So now when you see the sentence Athato dharma jigyasa, there are two possible meanings. What are they? One is dharma jigyasa, one is dharma jigyasa. Because it is sutra, it is a Vyasa sutra. It is the Purvamimamsa sutra. Therefore, the sutra being sutra, it should be what? sarvatomukham. Therefore, when you say athato dharma jigyasa, that's one meaning. It also means athato adharma jigyasa. Both meanings are there. And both are meaningful because unless you know adharma, you won't know dharma. Unless you know dharma, you won't know dharma. Both are needed. It's brilliant. But the word will look like what? Athato dharma jigyasa. It looks same. How do you know which is correct? How do you know what to take it as? Sutra is okay. But what happens is, what will a publisher do? He will do this for us. He will say, okay, no problem. I will help you. He will take this, right, and stick one. If you did this, now you know what it means? It means one vowel has gone away, which means now you figure out what vowel must have gone away. And in Sandhi rules, you know it's a which has gone away. You understand? This is how it's called an avagraha. But this avagraha is not a part of the language. If you look at old books, you will not find any avagraha. For us, it becomes more difficult because we don't know the language as it is. Then we don't even miss the avagraha. Then you don't have a hint to decide what to do with this. So you end up taking the wrong vigraha. You're in trouble. The sentence won't make sense in some places. Why he is saying that you won't understand? But if you look carefully, one thing like this will be sitting there. And you have to reverse the meaning. One extra a. One a means what? A is equal to na, okay? It's an anj. Dharma, adharma. Complete opposite meaning. And therefore, this colophon sometimes very useful. These are called publisher symbols, are called colophons. So you have a avagraha. But when you write it in Roman, it will look like a quote, a symbol, sickle quote in Roman. So you have to watch that. All right. So with that, okay, there's one more thing. How much time? Is it almost time? Time, okay. I'll take 5 minutes more, okay, not more. So now, consonant is a vowel. I've told you everybody should know Devanagari. So I hope you know this, okay? Ka, ka, ki, ki, this is how you write it. But I want to point out one thing here. This is kr. And this is kra. Okay? Now, it's not uncommon that people pronounce kr as kri. They write also. So suppose a person's name is Drishti. How will they write in English? D-R-I. Very typical. Drishti. It is not Drishti, it is Drishti. It is not Srishti, it is Srishti. It should be true in Telugu also, in Kannada it is, I know. But you watch whether you pronounce it as Srishti or Srishti. Drishti or Drishti. There's a difference. Okay? So R is not E. There are two different vowels. Okay? One is E, A, E. This one is A, E, U, R. This difference you better mark. Otherwise, you will be doing things wrong. Common mistake, very commonly done. So that is about R. This is Kr. This is Kl. But as I said, this is hardly seen. Don't worry. K, ko, cow. This is about adding a vowel to a consonant. What about consonant and consonant getting added? That is called a conjunct consonant. Sanyoga or Sanyukta Akshara. So at least some you should know very well, okay? This, how it comes, you should know. Otherwise, you think there's a character called Ksha. Some of you did not cover Ksha and Gya. No. They are born of combining consonants. Okay? So this is Ksha. Gya, how many of you knew it is Ja plus Nya? I would be curious, How many of you knew it is Ja plus Nya? Not everybody will know. A lot of people don't know what is Gya. And we keep pronouncing Gya. Actually, Gya is wrong. It is Nya. Nya. If you know the two characters, you will know how to pronounce it. Otherwise, we are in trouble. But we have still learned to pronounce as what? Gya. From childhood, you learn Gyanam. So you'll keep saying Gyanam. But correct pronunciation is what? Jnanam. Jnanam. That's what it should be said. And if you don't know what the characters are, you don't know why the changes happen in Sandhi. So you should know. At least Gya you should know. Then Vidya, the plus ya. Oh, this font has got messed up. Let me fix it. That's how it will look. Dya. Right? So you should know it's da and ya. And it's not dha and ya. Some people think it is dha and ya. And they'll say Vidya also. Not right. It is Vidya. Ha, always trouble. How you write it? Khna. Okay, let me fix these together. Okay. One second. Okay. Okay. I should have done this long ago. Today I forgot somehow. Should have been much clearer if I'd done it earlier. Anyway, so now you see this is clearer, I hope now. You see this ha plus na becomes what? That na goes in the stomach of the ha. Right? So if you are not aware of how it is written, you should know this is how it is done. Hopefully now it will be clear. Okay. So you can see how this na comes. Ha and na is sitting in the stomach. Ha and ya is sitting like this. Ha and ra sits like this. In ha, everything goes into the stomach when you make a conjunct. Okay. And while there are no rules, you have certain things. This ra is another problem. Okay. So if you add a ra to pa, you get pra, kri, gra. This is okay. How do you make it tra? This is how you should do it. Okay. Tra, tra. You have two lines. That's how it's written. So people who are not used Devanagari may not know these. These are tiny details, but they will make a difference. So it's two lines. And if it is followed, there's another big headache. How to write arka? This fellow comes on top. You have to know. You may think you know Devanagari, but you may not know these details. See, this is kartsnyam. The word here is kartsnyam. That's how you pronounce it. How is kartsnyam? What is it really? Just one second, okay? You see now, I just made it Roman, okay? Much easier with Roman characters, actually. I sometimes feel it would have been easier for us to do Sanskritam with Roman characters. But you see what's going on here. Do you see now? If you use Roman characters, kartsnyam, very clear. But if you're reading Sanskrit, where should you put the ra? You don't know. You should know the ra would have come only after the consonant. The ra is sitting here. This is where the ra should have been. But that ra shows up as this hook on top here, on top of ya, in the end. The last, this hook on top. See, karta, the ra is here. Kartri. Karti I have made. I should have made kartri. That's what I intended. Anyway. So the point is, you have to know. And in this case, if you use Roman, you are in much better situation. Because you won't go wrong. Even say kartri if I want it. It's pretty straight. You just add an R. You're done. So in that sense, Roman makes it a lot easier. So all these will be easily readable. Whereas if you have to study with Devanagari, you have to struggle sometime with this conjunct consonant, how to write them. It takes a time to learn them. But if you have Hindi, you're in good shape because these all are the same. No trouble there. All right. So this is the basics of the alphabet. All right, which you should keep in mind because they're all important for us. What we will do next week is we will begin the Maheshwara Sutras. Okay. that will be our real entry into Panini's way of looking at things. So that's where we will start next week. All right. I'll stop now. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Any questions? Yes, Devasya. Welcome back.
Namaste, Samji. I'm sorry, I
Namaste.
took some classes because of the university exams.
No problem.
Samji, I have just two simple queries. First thing is, in the swara,
Yeah.
You said about r as a swara.
Yeah.
Now, I have this doubt.
Mhm.
The r can be
Vyanjana.
yeah, Vyanjana. La plus r is can be. I
No.
thought.
Yeah. So you need to understand it is not. It's a swara and it is r. We will look into this more in a future class because I have to deal with that a little more. See, to answer you in brief, we will expand on this and make sure it's clear later. But r has two components. It's what we call a vowel component and also has a subtle consonant component. Okay. So the vowel component is a kanthya vowel, which is look, if I say it is vivrita, there's no contact anywhere, okay? And it is not but it's producing from the throat. You can do it and see for yourself. You'll feel it very clearly. It's a vowel, but it's not a vowel as such in the language. Now you add a shade of R to it, okay? So you will find your tongue momentarily is trying to touch. Mind you, ra is a semi-vowel. It won't have full pressure. But this has been accepted as a vowel. This is how it has been in the tradition all the way. Okay? R is a vowel. So r is a vowel. And what's emphasized there is the it is not the ra. It is the which is emphasized. R, rishi, ringanam, etc. So r is the vowel. Similarly, l, same vowel, but a component of the consonant is la. Therefore, you get l. That's how it is. So if you elongate the r, then it becomes r. If you keep it short, r. What is elongated is that vowel. The kanthya vowel, the guttural vowel is elongated. That's the vowel. But yes, you're right. It is not like the other vowels. There is this extra component sitting there. But that you need to appreciate because that's when you will know how, this. If I make a sandhi between r plus a, what will you get? What sandhi will you get? R plus a. If you don't know, doesn't matter. We'll look at it. But the point is, you will get one r. How it got r? That's when you have to know this r has got ra in its stomach a little. We'll look into it. Okay. Was there another question you had?
Yeah, so Swamiji, in some of our Indian languages, we have this constant law. I think it's also in Marathi. It's also in my native language, Malayalam. Like now, if you write in
are you saying la? Are you saying la?
La,
Yeah,
not
I
la.
understand.
La.
Yeah, I know.
संस्कृत में ऐसा है कि संस्कृत में वर्णमाला में ऐसा कोई वर्ण है लॉ के लिए?
Look, the fact is this. This seems like a regional inflection, okay? So what happens is this. If you ask me to say, auspicious, I will say mangalam. I will not say mangalam. I will say mangalam.
Mangalam.
Okay? But if you go to north, they will say mangalam.
Mangalam.
Correct. That is correct. Now the point is, in the traditional Shiksha Sutras, we don't find a reference to la. Okay? But the fact is, the way these are chanted, pronounced, is the la is supposed to be dantya. La is dantya. The teeth is involved. Okay. But this is just my speculation. Okay. I have no other basis. Speculation. Why? Because I find it's there in Telugu, it is there in Malayalam, it is there in Marathi, it is there in Kannada. And in Sanskrit books, you will find la is used. I mean, Sanskrit in the Kannada script or Telugu script, you will find it. So therefore, it's accepted. In the South, it's accepted as normal, right? Even Pandits will chant that way. That's even the way the Patha goes that way. So it looks to me that la it's like a bheda in the region. In a particular region, you have a change. See, every Veda, by the way, has got what is called the Pratishakyam. In every Veda Shakha, it has its own phonetic rules, which will be overriding the rules coming from Panini. I have not had an opportunity to look at any Pratishakyam, but it is quite possible that la will be in the Pratishakyam in the South. It's quite possible. Okay. So I would say in South, la pronunciation is accepted as a norm. Even if you go to Sringeri, I think it's accepted. But in the North, the la is only coming out. So that looks like a situation where, see, when we look further into how the pronunciations are handled, there are options. Many a time there are options. So I feel there may have been one option to say that la can go with murdhanya. It will have fixed the job. That's all that happens. Instead of danta, I would go to murdhanya. You'll be okay. One little option would do the job. So it must have been there and may have been lost in time. But as of now, I don't know of la being officially there in a Shiksha Sutra. But I'm not all read. I have read very little comparatively. So there's possibility it's there in some book, but I have not heard of it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other question? All right. Yes, Harsha.
Swamiji, while writing conjunct consonants like ha and na, I write them, stack them one above, one below. Is that acceptable in Sanskrit, or is that a Hindi?
No. See, the point I showed you how it comes out, right? It goes in the stomach. That's a typical print, how it shows up. Okay. So I don't know exactly when you say one above, below. You can't write it like if you're writing, say, ha, the way conjuncts come are a little different from the others. And ha has one more problem also. We'll look into it. So when you have ha and na, what gets pronounced first is na and not ha. So there's some difficulty there. Okay. So we'll look into that. But ha is the shape of ha is a little special. And traditionally, I think that's the way they mark it. I don't know how it works in the regional languages. I haven't really looked into that. Because the shape of ha in Devanagari is a little funny. And that's why you have the conjuncts going a little funny way. That's why I said Roman is much better for that. This writing, in a way, I find Roman is so much easier. Once you know your alphabet, it's so easy. Whereas with Hindi, you have to know and you have to add that danda. All our Indian language, you have to add one extra line, etc. And it's not intuitive. For a newcomer, it's hard. So, yes, Sindhura.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste,
Swamiji, the nasalized sounds, I'm not clear. You said only nose when we produce that sound, it is Anuswara and Anunachya with the nose and the mouth? Correct.
As I said, that difference is not very easy to catch. So I did not dwell on it. Okay.
Okay. Because
Anuswara is there, but normally Anuswara gets replaced by something else most of the times. Anuswara typically gets replaced. See, an Anuswara is born from a ma or a na, typically. A makara followed by a consonant. Anuswara hali. Yeah. And Nashcha jhali. And nakara followed by some characters called jhal. Don't worry about it right now. They will lead to an Anuswara. Okay. But if this anuswara is followed by any class consonant. You understand class consonant now? Anything between ka and that final pa 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 ma ma. Then that anuswara will be replaced by the fifth of the class, which is following the anuswara. So typically you will find anuswara will go away. That's how you chant. If you remember when you chant your Ganapati, what do? Gang Ganapataye Namaha. Why? Why that Gang Ganapate? Nga. That's anuswara replaced. You will find a lot of why I said Ganapati Atharvashisha, because you'll find a lot of anuswara replacements happening there. You observe, you chant and you observe. You do it well anyway. So you will see each one is replaced. So typically the problem will come when you have a non-class consonant following, like Simha.
Yeah,
Like-
and
So there, as I said, I have asked people and the answer is not very clear how exactly this is the rule. You have to bring only the nose, a little of nose. And it's not a very clear parampara I know of, okay? So, for example, if you go, I have heard that in some very big Veda Pathshalas, etc., for uniformity, they just say, don't worry with this complication, make it into Makara and chant it. Say Simha, be done with it. So that everybody has the same way of chanting it. So I have heard, but I don't know. This Anuswara is a slight problem. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Bhuma.
Namaste, Swamiji.
Namaste, ma.
And my doubt was also on the same thing on Ganapati Atharvasisha. There actually we say it is Etattava Anuswara Rupam. So actually
No, don't. That's just a word there.
Hmm.
Leave that. I'm talking of
Because-
characters which are Anuswara there, not the word Anuswara.
okay.
Okay.
So when we are saying Rupam and Anuswara, Chantya Rupam and all, we are just like, it is not referring to the
No,
this Anuswara.
not this. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Deepti.
Swamiji, this is also again related to Anuswara only. So Samskritam is what some people write Sanskritam and Samskritam.
You know what?
So what is the correct?
It's a huge issue sometimes. But just so I'll tell you, there are 108 ways you can pronounce Sanskritam. 108 ways. I'm not joking. 108. Okay. So just leave it alone. You say Sanskritam, it's good enough. Leave it at that. I'm not getting into that. Because there's Anuswara, Anunasika, and doubling, tripling, all these funny things happen, and there are too many options possible. You go look at Siddhanta Kaumudi commentary, you'll find 108 way of doing it. So I'm not getting into that discussion. It's beyond this range. It's beyond my range also, honestly. So I don't know. So it's not that I can't explain to you. I don't know how to explain it to you offhand. Leave it at that. Okay. No more Anuswara questions. Ask me anything else.
No, because in English when we write SAM and
I said to you, you say Sanskritam, that's okay. Sanskritam, you say. If you talk to Marathi person, you say Sanskritam, that they will nasalize it. But there are multiple options. You can have Anunasika, you can have Anuswara. There are Paninian rules which allow all these also. Therefore, I'm saying it is not one way. There are many ways to chant it, pronounce it. So I would not say one is wrong and one is right, because there are options. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Harsha, you are also on Anunasika only? Anuswara? Saw your hand up and then go down.
Yes, Swamiji.
Yeah.
The only exception that I see was Sanyamendriyaha, that ma becomes, you don't say ma when it comes with ya.
No, but see there, that ya is there. That is Sanyatendriya, you're saying. Sanyatendriya, right? That is a yakara nationalized. These are rules, okay? I told you. If Varnakshara or Ardha or the half vowels follow, you will not have an Anuswara surviving. Anuswara survives because you have Sha, Sa, Ha following. That's when you get in trouble. Otherwise, Anunasika is irrelevant. It won't be there. It will vanish. It will get replaced. Only when Sha, Sa, Ha will follow. That's why I had to take Simha as an example. You can't take anything. Ganga will not have. It will go away. What you told just now, there the ya will get nasalized.
Ah.
That is the anunasika ya.
Okay.
So the anunasika of the following consonant will replace the anuswara. That's the rule. Therefore, where there is no anunasika possible for a consonant, we are in trouble. And those are these. Sha, sha, sa, ha.
Okay. Sir.
Okay. Anything else? So I hope you got some clarity about the alphabet, because I feel we will look, as I said, further detail in each alphabet, but it's good to know with what you know already, how you understand this a little better. Now we will get into more details next time. Yes, Devasya. Unmute.
This is, the question is slightly regressive. When you said about the first sutra of Jaimini's sutra, Adhado Dharma Jijnasa,
Yeah.
you said that it also can be implied to mean that analysis of adharma.
Correct.
Now, my doubt is, does the Bhashyakara, the Vyasa, also say the same thing?
I have not studied Dharma Sutra Bhashya. That is Shabara Bhashya. You can go and look, but I'm 90% sure it will have it. 99% sure it will have it. Okay. Because I have seen it in Shankara mentioning it somewhere. So it's there. But I have not tried Shabara Bhashya to tell you point blank it is so. But I will give a 99% guarantee it is so. It has to be. Because it has to be Vishwato Mukham. Cannot be otherwise. Checking it out is up to you. You can check with other colleagues of yours in school and see, because you will have somebody with, probably Mimamsa. Find out. Yeah. It should be there.
Thank you. Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samdi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anything else? Okay. Let me stop the recording, then I will get your feedback a little so I know what's going on, okay?